Hi.
Hi guys,
What's
how
up?
you
What's
doing?
up? Welcome back to Shoujo Talk.
Shoujo Talk.
Shoujo
But
Talk.
today we are not talking about
Or
shoujos.
anime.
Yeah,
Or boys.
or boys. Oh
I
my
know,
god.
right?
Or just life in general, which we should really talk about life. But
100%. But that will be an update, like a big update once everything's settled.
yeah, because shit just keeps happening. Anyways, we've been really obsessed lately with the movie Sinners. Have you guys watched it? If not, go. It is a masterpiece. I love it. It's exactly what we're going to talk about today.
I've watched it 4 times.
I've watched it 3 times. And
We made like a notes list of like all of like the
everything that we caught
symbolism.
in the movie, and also like we've watched a lot of like TikToks and other
Yeah.
people talking about like different theories and stuff, so we just wanted to talk about Sinners today.
Yeah.
So where should we even start?
Okay, so backstory of why we really want to talk about it is we saw a TikTok kind of like it was Kayla saw it first, she sent it to me, and then I saw it after. It was just basically like a breakdown of the Asian characters and the Asian symbol, like the Chinese Asian American like symbolism in Sinners, and I didn't really think about it. So then we kind of went down a rabbit hole of basically like, oh, why are all the characters here? What's the point of everything? And so then we rewatched it again. We caught everything that we could, and then we like double checked on TikTok and different
Absolutely.
theories.
I mean, even just like watching it over and over. I mean, the first time I caught it, like all I could say was like, wow, like, this feels like very well done. Like, the writers like put a lot of thought into this, and it felt just very historically accurate.
Duh.
Especially like from Asian Americans, like we will just talk heavily about that. Um since that's where we can relate. And then we also wanted to just talk about like the symbolism in the movie.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite character? All of that. So I guess we could start off with who your favorite character was. Oh,
Sorry. Um, Honestly, the whole movie, my favorite character was Annie.
Annie.
Was Annie.
Absolutely. I feel like she was the strongest out of all of the
Strong-willed,
characters.
independent,
Yes, absolutely.
soft,
Mm-hmm.
like very motherly, and honestly,
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna lie, even just from that, like
Very wise,
yeah,
knowledgeable.
I just really liked her because she just had like yeah, I really liked Mary. Mary was really cute. You know, she was there and her character was there for a reason.
Yeah.
But Annie just felt so like raw. You know,
Mm.
like I could just imagine like her life growing up and like her experiences with smoke, and then just like spoiler alert, guys, we're gonna be talking a lot about spoilers.
Yeah,
So
spoiler alert. If you guys haven't seen the movie
do
yet,
not watch this.
go watch the movie first and then come back and we can have like a whole conversation
Yeah.
about the movie and characters and such. But yeah, Annie was just so knowledgeable and so wise. Obviously, like she is the most spiritual in the movie, and she knew exactly like what was going on. Like she knew like what entities they were working and fighting against, and she was probably the most well equipped.
Yeah.
And that's probably why, well, actually, none of them really survive.
Yeah, I mean, I
None
liked
of them really
basically
do.
all the characters. If I had to just choose one, it was Annie. I really liked Remick. Remick was one of my favorites,
Yeah,
actually.
Bella goes on about Remick and how like he was like low key like one of your favorite characters.
I think he was one of the best like villains actually written in the last year that I've seen. Like I've seen a lot of movies, and I feel like he's a very well-rounded, well-written, evil, honestly just very like well-written character. And whether he's evil or not, if he's a devil or not, if he's a vampire or not, like I think he was just very well written.
Yeah.
And I could talk about him, and I also just love the actor. So fine.
Yeah, she thinks that he's fine. Honestly,
I love Smoke Zach though, of course. Duh.
yeah, Smoke and Stack.
Dick was hard the whole time.
Yeah,
I'm just coming out and just wiping on the screen.
Ew. That's what Bella's been going on and on and on about, how Michael B. Jordan had her dick hard all 4 times she watched this movie.
Every single time. My genus went crazy.
So, okay, so out of the
Even now.
Smokestack twins, you were a wait. I don't-
Stack.
You were Stack and I was Smoke.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
Stack.
Wait. Yeah, Smoke was the blue one. Stack was the red one. So, those were our alter egos if we had to pick like which twin we were. My favorite character, not like for like writing, but like the finest character to me was none other than Bo Chow.
Bo
You you
Chow.
guys know me and my Chinese men, or just like my Asian men in general, but yeah, Bo Chow had me drooling the whole time.
If you guys know like the Korean drama song, sha la 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 la, wait, sha la 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 la, something like that. You are my everything.
Oh,
You are my.
you should have just started with that because I had no idea what you
No,
were
I
saying.
can't remember how the.
But yeah, Bo Chow can get it any day. Okay, so yeah, in terms of characters, I also really liked Mary too. Haley Steinfeld, I think, was a good, like, she played the role really well.
And she was 1/8 black,
Yeah, like she actually is, I think, like, yeah, her
even though
her
apparently her
her
man.
genetic background
Yeah.
is accurate to the movie. I don't really, honestly, I saw a lot of controversy about this. I didn't really think it mattered because like regardless of like the eighth, she was supposed to be a white woman
With like
who,
an eighth of black in her.
yeah,
Yeah.
who like grew up like really connected to like, black people.
But she
And
could do both sides though. That's the
right,
point.
and like I think the whole like struggle with why her and Stack don't work out is like, yes, like she grew up like with Smoke and Stack, like, and even though like her mom was white, like she like very much like, I don't want to say identified, but like she, what's the word, like,
She felt comfortable.
yeah, like her relationship with like Smoke and Stack and just like the black community was a lot stronger. And so again, like why that was an issue was because like she's she still is like
A white
a
woman.
white woman, and I think that's why, Stack says like he can't ever be with her because he doesn't want to put her in harm's way because he is a black man. Very,
He got her a white husband.
yeah,
Nice
exactly. I
one.
didn't even really pick up on that until like the second or
Yeah.
third
And
time.
she said that I didn't want I wanted you.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So my favorite character looks wise was Bo Chow. I also
Looks like
agree.
Michael B. Jordan.
I also agree that Annie was just like my favorite character. I think that she was the strongest and like probably like the most important like for like the plot line. But anyway, um I just have like this random list of notes, like
So
literally from like start to finish of like us watching the movie and like
I
all of,
kind of want to start with Stack and Smoke and their colors, blue and red. I've seen a
right.
lot of people say it's like red pill, blue
Yeah,
pill.
exactly. Red pill, blue pill.
But I did see somewhere, quote me if I'm wrong, but I saw like a TikTok of this girl going on about how in Nigeria, red and blue is a very significant color, and how Stack and Smoke were supposed to signify like that color each, and each color I guess is like a depiction of um like I guess like what that god or that entity embodies, you know?
Uh-huh.
That's what I saw, but I didn't really like deep dive onto it because I was also like kind of late for work, so I couldn't really like go into it crazy. But I've been seeing like a lot of people saying like Stack and Smoke are like red pill, blue pill, like the Matrix, you know, and how like almost every movie comes with like their own like red pill, blue pill version.
Right. I mean, I'm just, like I'll probably try to fact check like throughout the episode, like just so we aren't getting things wrong.
Yeah, and sound stupid
Unintentionally.
and
Yeah.
ignorant.
Okay, but like the red pill, blue pill, like the Matrix example, like the red pill was always signifying understanding the reality of the world, while the blue pill offers a continued illusion for comfort. And again, Stack was red and
Smoke was blue.
Smoke was blue. That's really interesting actually, because I think like with like the relationship aspect, right? Like Smoke is with Annie and Stack was with Mary, and Stack was very much like hit with reality, like I can't be with Mary because even though I love you, like this, like biracial relationship does
At
not
that
work.
time,
Yeah,
did
does
not
not
work.
work at the time, like it's not safe to do so, and that's why he kind of like cut it off from the beginning. And then whereas Smoke, like not that he's delusional, right? But like obviously like their relationship is a lot more spiritual. Him and Annie had a child together, and at the very end of the movie, like he has like these illusions, obviously like because he's on the verge of death, but like he has these like illusions of like his family being reunited again. So I see like just like the duality between both, and I think even just like in their personalities and like what they valued, like Smoke was like when they were starting the juke joint, right, like he was very much like, this is going to be business, like we need to make sure that like we're getting paid in, he said, US motherfucking dollars. and
U.S. motherfucking
and
dollars.
Stack is the one that's like, hey, but like think about the crowd that like we are catering to, like,
They've been working all day,
right,
all
like,
night. They
right,
just
these people
want,
work in the plantations, they don't
yeah,
necessarily get US dollars.
no,
And so he tries to be more on like the lax and like lenient understanding side, tries to be more empathetic like with the guests and like the customers that come into the juke joint.
yeah,
Whereas like,
because he did say
yeah,
something like if you want like money to come in, you have to let them feel wanted.
right, like if you want
Yeah,
them to come back they have to feel wanted. And Smoke was very much just like, this is bad for business, like he was only like calculating numbers at that point.
and like only like dollars, like currency, like
Mhm.
hard
Mhm.
American USA dollars.
Yeah. So that was like,
And like the first thing he says, like the top figure is plantation money,
yeah.
and then he said the bottom figure is like what we're in, and he's like cold hard cash will be out in 2 months.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that was a good duality like between Stack and Smoke. Like they were obviously like very very different, but also like they had what each other needed. And like it broke me at that one scene where I think it was like already after Stack had become a vampire, right? And he's trying to convince Smoke to either come outside or to let him in. He's like, you know, like there is no like you without me.
Mm-hmm.
Like they complete each other basically. So yeah,
Yeah.
very red pill, blue pill. Um,
Yin and yang.
I mean, that's just kind of like twin relationships, right? Um, so anyway, moving on. Other things that we noticed. Where do you want to start?
Whichever.
We can like honestly start at like the very beginning. Do you want to talk about like religious symbolism first?
I really liked my when I watched it for the fourth time. I didn't catch this, but in the beginning and at the end, there's a scene where Preacher Boy Sammy walks into the house of God where
Right, he's walking into the church.
where his dad is giving his sermon and everything, and immediately he's just covered in blood. He has his guitar, like
Right, I didn't catch that the first
he
time.
was singing the devil's music, and the dad, instead of
Yeah.
being like, "Are you okay?" He was like, "You should let go of those sinning
He knew
ways."
exactly like
Yeah,
what was wrong.
and so like and so it
Yeah.
was almost kind of like his dad basically being like, whether you're like it was almost kind of like the way I felt. It was like his dad was like, okay, you have to be in this house of God, and he was using his like his voice of like God and like his
Mhm.
religion, I guess,
Yeah.
to be like, you're sinning, you're this, you're aiding in temptation.
Yeah. I can't exactly remember, but at the very beginning of the movie, right, um they
Oh,
they
sorry.
foreshadow the ending at the very beginning of the movie, and it shows Sammy walking into the church, right? He walks in, and instantly there's just like back and forth cuts between like what is happening at that present time versus Remick like in his like demon form, you know, like all bloody, like, yeah, bloody, claws out, all of it. But do you remember if it was like it would show Sammy and then Remick, or was it showing the dad and then Remick?
No, it was just Sammy and Remick, and then it panned to his dad.
Okay, because I was thinking like if it was showing the dad and Remick, like it could have been symbolic of like Sammy had like two choices, either choosing between God and the devil. You know what I mean? But also like maybe it's just like showing like the parallels of like the like Sammy, obviously like he grows on and he grows old to pursuing his music career despite his dad's warnings of like him playing the devil's music. So is that kind of symbolic of like he ends up choosing the devil anyway?
I mean, the whole story, the whole like true story about it is about a singer who sold his soul to the devil to become a
Yeah.
famous musician, and he was based in Chicago. So yeah, I feel like that could be the
Yeah.
symbolism for
I
it.
think I think it could have been, yeah, it could have been
Um,
cool too, like just to show like Sammy had the choice to either choose like to listen to his dad, listen to the word of God, or listen to Remick and like continue to play his music and continue to like,
Though
intersect
I
ancestors throughout time, like with the devil's music. But regardless, like that whole scene in general is like it's very much like Sammy's two choices.
the
But
way
we don't
I
know it at the
saw it,
time.
I totally forgot, like, before I lose my like train of thought. So when Sammy drives, Sammy's driving back to from whatever happened last night, like in the beginning where it's like panning from him, Remick, and then like he opens and like the church doors, and his dad's like giving a sermon, is like he's like, put those sinning ways behind. It also reminds me of like how Christianity was forced upon slaves and the Irish, and honestly, like colonization and Christianity was forced upon whatever group that was marginalized. So I kind of took it as like, oh, like his dad is being like, you have to do this and you have to do that, or you're not going to be accepted. You're not going to be
Hmm.
you're not going to
Right.
be
Like, and
accepted,
also like at the
or
time
you're not going to
historically
assimilate.
too.
Exactly.
Right.
You're not going to assimilate correctly. You're not going to assimilate properly. But the word of God was forced upon almost any marginalized group as like a way of being like, oh, you are, what's the word? What would they use? Not unjust. It's uncivilized. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mhm.
Because like the white folk was civilized because they listened to the word of God and they preached the word of God, because
Yeah.
Jesus is the king.
Mhm.
But like how you said, Sammy had a choice: either listen to his dad or listen to his music, which was the devil's music, I guess. But then,
Mhm.
you know what he did? Yeah, I live like it's
The
the last
last
time.
time.
Yeah, so he chose his music.
Right. And I think that's also like what you said about like colonization and like how religion was used as, you know, justification for
Marginalizing,
colonizing, yeah,
colonizing,
for colonization.
and slavery
That's
and
why
everything.
Remick is such a great
Example.
choice. Yeah, great choice of like this vampire character because like he is of Irish descent.
And the
And
English did, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And just like the history behind that too. Another thing at the beginning of the movie, obviously, like this one was like a very obvious symbolic representation, but when Smoke and Stack brings Sammy to their truck, like with all of yeah, the snake, and obviously, like if you know the story of Adam and Eve, Adam was tempted, or well, I don't even really know like the true story. I make up my own story, but basically, the serpent tempted human
Adam.
to eat the apple. Well, I think
Oh, it was Eve?
the snake at
I don't know the
first,
story.
yeah, the serpent at first tempted the woman to eat the apple and then give it to man. Um, but man lied about it to God, and that's why the apple is stuck in man's throat.
Oh my
Anyways,
god, yeah, the Adam's apple.
I think that's the story. Don't quote me on that. That's kind of crazy. Because I had 10 years of religious school.
I have
But
not.
anyway, yeah,
I was also a cool way of foreshadowing too. You know what I mean? Because like the snake died after using Stack's knife.
right, right. So it's I don't know. It's kind of
Or is it irony?
it kind of is irony, right? Because Smoke is technically the one that kills the snake, right?
But he uses Stack's
But uses
knife
Stack's knife, and I think like one like it shows that like they go hand in hand together. Like there is no Stack without
without smoke,
Smoke.
and there's no smoke without Stack.
Right. Smoke is the one that physically kills
Mm-hmm.
the snake. So he ends up living, as a human, but it was still Stack's
Knife.
knife, and Stack is the one that ends up living eternally
Yeah.
as a vampire. I don't know. Think about that. What do you guys think about that?
And if we say anything that's not correct at all, like feel free to like
Right.
correct us. Like this is just what we think and what we've heard. Like if this is not factual at all, do not be afraid to fact check us.
Yeah, and so sorry. It's been a couple days since I watched the movie.
I watched it, yes,
You watched it
2 days ago.
Yeah, you watched it 2 days ago. I watched it last week. Unfortunately, we were supposed to record like right after, but
Things happen.
things happen. You guys
Always.
know things happen. Um, a lot of like side comments too. Like, I have like I don't know, where should we start? I don't know if there's like much more religious symbolism that we have. Well, I mean, the last bit of like religious symbolism that I can think of is like towards the end of the movie, right, where Sammy and Remick are fighting in the water,
Oh,
like,
like
and him
the
like dunk,
unofficial baptism.
yeah, like the unholy baptism,
Mm-hmm.
like being dunked under the water by
By the
Remick,
devil,
who's like the
the
devil,
devil, the white devil.
the the white devil, and then he starts to say the Our Father, and like I think this is like what you were talking to me a lot about, like when Sammy starts to pray the Our Father and Remick, prays along with him, and all the other vampires pray along with him. It just kind of like shows like the unity in numbers of like how religion has colonized like all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
But Remick goes to say like,
I hated the man who took my country, but those words bring me comfort.
mm-hmm,
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm. So
So he can look at those words as like a voice of comfort, but at the end of the day, like the people who colonized them, you know, they used that religion. Oh, they use oh my god, it's my cat, sorry. Oh my god.
girl,
They use Christianity and that basically that scripture to justify the mass killing, the mass what's it called? What is it called? Called just basically colonization of
right,
Ireland
and like the
and the Irish,
gentrification
yeah,
of like,
and the Irish.
mm-hmm.
Also, I saw like another thing. It was like oh, about the Choctaw people, remember?
Yeah,
So like when if you guys have seen the movie, you know what we're talking about when Remick basically falls from. Oh, that's also not the form of like symbolism, like religious symbolism when he
right.
falls
Like,
to the
was he
ground.
Icarus? Like, was he
Yeah,
supposed to be Icarus
like
who
a fallen
flew
angel.
to, yeah, fallen angel? And like the story of Icarus is like he wanted to fly, and so he like glued on feathers to create wings. And
Mhm.
as he got closer to the sun,
He burned.
yeah, he burnt, and then the glue melted, and the feathers flew off, and he fell down to earth again.
Yeah. So when he fell from the sky, the first scene, right? Like when he was running to basically like the house, I like it just showed, not showed, but like he was like knocking on the door and he was like, "Oh my god, the Choctaw are coming after me." And then he sees how those two white
Like
people were
the
part of the clan.
couple, the
Yeah.
couple didn't understand like who the
Who
Choctaw
the Choctaw are, but he
were.
said
Like,
the slur for Native Americans.
mm-hmm.
And so they were like, "Oh yeah," so they let him in and literally Choctaw pull up and they said, "Ma'am, like is he there? Like do you have someone inside? Like did you let him inside?"
I'm sorry, this is a side note, but look who matched with me.
And so I lost my train of thought. Frick.
Oh, but he
Was like,
basically
"Oh," he was like,
he
"Yeah,
uses like the context clues like to see that that white couple
my
whose
wife."
house that like he stumbled upon like are part of the you
Ku
know
Klux, Ku Klux Klan.
right,
Yeah.
like they are white supremacists, and
So he used a derogatory term for natives to let him in, to let
to
himself
like
in,
garner sympathy
like
and
the devil.
right, exactly.
And he was let in. And so, of course, but then the Choctaw pulled up and we're like, "Hey, like, do you have him inside? Do you let him inside? He's
Right,
not
like
who he seems.
have you seen him? He's highly dangerous,
Very dangerous.
and
He's not
they
who he
are,
seems."
the woman is very hostile towards him, even though like he's simply asking a question, and he has good intentions. Like that's the issue that like really rubbed me the wrong way. Unfortunately, it is historically accurate, that
Mm-hmm.
like negative sentiment, um and
Oh,
mistrust towards indigenous people, like
mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. But
Um,
even though like he sees like, was it before the vultures came or after?
the vultures were there to begin with. Oh, that's how
Right,
they
and so he
found
kind
them.
of like sees like, okay, well, like there's no hope for this woman, and then at the same time, another man is like, hey, the sun's going down, we need to go.
The
So then
only sane
he
people.
wishes them well, he like tries to give them a blessing and like wish for their safety, and then they leave, and then as like they leave, you see like the three vultures above the house,
They just start sitting after the
right, like
Choctaw leave. Yeah,
circling, yeah,
they just
circling
sit
above the
above the house,
house.
meaning that Bert, the husband or boy or whatever,
The
was
three
dead.
of them were
Dead.
dead.
We're dead. But so a really fun fact I learned was during that time in the Mississippi Delta, it was I think it was like the Native Removal Act during
Mm.
that time.
Yeah.
So a majority of the Choctaw, like Choctaw or indigenous group was moved out. So the fact that there was a group of like indigenous people, especially Choctaw, following Remick, it was kind of like a cool like tab of like how long have they been following him for, and the
Yeah.
fact that like Remick was Irish, and there's like a long history between the Choctaw specifically and Ireland during like the potato famine when Ireland was really going through it and they really didn't have anything. Choctaw, like, that group, I think they donated $170 during that time, but if you like calculate now, it's like $5,000. And
Uh-huh.
they sent aid to like I think the military group or like it was like a Red Cross group
Oh
basically,
wow.
which gave food and resources to people in Ireland. And during that time, when Ireland found out, they were super grateful and everything, and they also sent money back or like they gave like aid back too during when Choctaw needed it. So it's like a really cool tab I learned about how like they have
Wow.
such a deep ingrained history for the fact that Remick was being followed by that group, like the indigenous group
Right.
Choctaw. I was like, wow, like that's actually really cool. I had no
Right,
idea.
like, cause kind of like the introduction of like Remick like surrounds like, like, oh, the
The devil.
natives, well, yeah, the devil, but also like that's kind of like his introduction to the story. Like that's like the first that you see of him. He's like, help, help, like the natives are chasing after me. They're trying to kill me, and like it's weird, like how well thought out like
Yeah.
these characters' backstories are
100%. And like
dating back to like history.
yeah, and historically, indigenous people are known to be like protectors of the land and very sacred.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, like, the fact that they're like hunting a vampire, I'm like, wow. I'm like, this
Mm.
this director knows how to think.
I know he was a real thinker for sure. Um, but yeah, another note I made, I mean, this is just kind of like a question for history, but like how old was Remick? To one, like have to
He's
like
been here since nine. He's
right,
been
like
a
what
he's been
century
in
like is he
America since
from?
1911. So he's at least he was turned. There's like an actual like thing on Spotify about all this like characters on the background.
Oh wow.
I just remember hearing somewhere that like Remick came to America during 1911,
Right, cuz like
but I don't know how long he's been a vampire for
another
though.
thing that he like tries to like lure people in with is money, right?
And his wife, most likely I think he did have a
Right, he
wife,
he garners sympathy like with the white couple, like talking about how like his wife was killed and like he's being chased after,
and he
he's
has
being hunted.
gold
Yeah, and like another thing that he lures people in with is money, like the gold coins. Like he offered the white couple money like to protect him, and then when Mary first interacts with all three of them, he she was seeking out like money, like trying to see like what they wanted, like if they were, you know, if they were part of the clan or not, and he shows her like just straight up gold coins.
from back like way back, way
Yeah.
back. So honestly, like, oh, a cool tidbit I learned too on TikTok slash like what someone was saying from like the Spotify playlist, right, about Remick, was that from what they got from like the whole Spotify Wrapped and like all that was so since Remick was I is and was Irish descent, he most likely went through basically like the full period of like colonization of Ireland. So I don't know how to word this, but so I guess Remick in a very twisted and like skewed way, he sees himself as like as someone who can understand what black people are going through, I guess, in his like
Uh-huh.
warped mind, because he's
Yeah.
like, well, I was colonized and you were colonized, but the thing is that like
Right.
Remick has used that form of like thinking to become a colonizer too, to basically become the one who has to assimilate others. Because you saw how he became a cult. He basically forced people into becoming vampires.
Yeah.
So he's not aiding and
It's
saving
not like
people,
willingly
but
like
he's perpetuating the cycle.
absolutely. And that's
I
that's another thing too, um like thinking about like religion, like the devil is supposed to tempt you and
mm-hmm.
supposed to garner your sympathy and make you feel like you can relate to the devil.
And he can save you and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, he's used that tactic on like multiple people
And
throughout the
how
movie.
he specifically wants Sammy because Sammy's stories can let him see his people.
Right.
And Sammy's voice most likely is like, well, I saw somewhere on TikTok, I don't know if this is true, but someone said that Sammy's voice is like, what is it, divination, like the word of God, like he can bring like like spirits to life, basically something like that.
Annie talks about it at the
Like in the
very yeah, at
beginning.
the very beginning of the movie, and then also like when he plays that song,
Yeah, as
you
you
know,
know the song at the juke joint. Yeah.
um where like his voice and his sound was just so powerful that it kind of like I don't really
It can
know.
go in between the world of like basically like
Right,
the
like it kind of like crosses dimensions. I know I'm like butchering her explanation,
same.
but like my understanding of it is like, his voice kind of like breaks the boundary between dimensions
Mhm.
and across all periods of time.
And I mean, I feel like that's very spiritual in a sense because Annie was a very spiritual woman, you know?
Mhm.
And for her to say, like, Sammy's voice could do that, pierce the soul, basically.
Right. Or she said that like some people who have a gift,
And there are
like
people who have a gift
right,
like that, you know?
who have the talent or like the musical gift, like they are able to do that. I would have definitely liked to have seen like, after like the house or the juke joint burns down, like when they're still when Sammy's still singing, Remick is like drawn to that. I would have loved to see Annie like feel a sense of like, like feeling that like spiritual energy or just like feeling the energy that like something shifted. I would have
Yeah.
loved to see that. I think that would have made a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah.
Maybe they had it and,
We just didn't
maybe
notice
they
it.
yeah, or maybe they had to cut it, but I would have loved to see something like that because it would have been like the confirmation that Sammy does have a gift, like his music is special if we didn't really know already. Because like the only other thing that like really happens after that, like when they first encounter the vampires, Sammy's like, "Oh, I'm the one that brought them here because my dad said that like I play the devil's music, like my music is like for the devils." And I'm like, "Okay, like, any religious parent could have said something like
It's
that."
just superstition at the end of the day, I
Right,
feel
like
like,
any
yeah.
any religious parent would probably have that superstition like
Like don't sing like my superstitions growing up was like don't sing at night cuz you'll invite the devil into the house. Don't whistle at night cuz you'll call upon the devil. Don't clap at
right, things
night.
like that.
Yeah.
But even just like like some religious families don't like any other music other than gospel
Yeah.
music, like other
I'm also
than
Buddhist though. I wouldn't know.
right. And like this is like another like bad example, like not bad example, but another example of like, you know, could could it have been explained better for it to be like spiritual? Yes, because like if you guys have seen the movie Let It Shine, like the Disney movie Let It Shine, right? The main boy, he loves to write rap music. He's a great rapper. He's really talented. But his dad is also a preacher and he says that rap is the devil's music. And it's not because like he has a gift like that his music attracts literal devils, but just because it doesn't align with like the religious philosophy of like the word of God and like Bible music.
In a different note, like other than like spiritually, I think that whole segment, right, in sequence of like just seeing like Sammy's voice and like, back in the day like the blues and how basically the blues have shaped, music and culture like up till now. I just love the sequence of seeing like, the early like the 90s, early 2000s and then like music now, like in black culture and how like it's basically shaped like how we hear music, what um like events and everything. Like okay, from the whole thing was like Sammy singing, and then there was like an electric guitar dude that's reminding me of Prince, and then there was a
Right.
guy on the DJ that reminded me
Like
of like
2000s
early
rap
2000s
music.
rap, early 2000s just like experimental like sounds of like different noises, and then it
Mhm.
went to like modern music now, like there was like girls twerking and everything, and then there was like it was just like rap music with like everything like kind of encompassed in it, and then
And then it also had hints of like other what's the
of
word?
like of other countries, like
Right,
it
like
had I know what it was, I don't know what from what country, but I know they had like this like spirit dancing, which like is really big um in Africa. I don't know what specific country though, but I know it's like it's practiced,
right,
and
like like
it's very
really
traditional, and I've
traditional.
watched a documentary, I just can't remember the name.
And then also like hints of like Chinese like traditional music like for Grace and Bo Chow. Then also like
And
there
like
was the one white girl, like the little ballerina that was dancing throughout,
mhm.
probably for Mary,
For Bo Chow and what was her name again? Oh,
Grace.
Grace. I don't know why I thought it was Emma. Oh, no. Grace, right? I really liked how the male who was dancing was supposed to be the Monkey King, which is very like big and signet um really huge in Chinese culture too, and a lot of like East Asian, Southeast Asian like cultures, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And like the girl, like the Chinese dancer, it's like traditional Chinese. I think it was like traditional Chinese attire. Like the dance was very traditional as well. So it encompassed like Bo Chow and Grace's culture as well, which I loved. So that whole segment I think was just amazing and beautiful just to see like music, how like the blues shaped basically music we see now today, you know? And I just
Mhm.
beautiful. Mwah.
And then also like I feel like it takes on like um it has this like what's the word, like this like meld, like this like mix of like other histories and
Uh-huh.
cultures, like
Uh-huh.
because blues music, like, yes, like stems from like African American culture,
Mhm.
but they all came from different places as well, and like just seeing that
All like
throughout,
meld together,
yeah, like
yeah.
all like melded together, it was like so
It was
cool.
very impactful. Like I just remember watching that sequence and just being like
Just like so
starstruck and
like
be just like,
appreciative of
wow,
like how music has developed.
evolved and
Yeah.
yeah. And just what we like experienced today. I just love this movie. This movie's so good.
That made me think about that one comment though that Slim made, like when they're in the car, and he's like talking about how like like when he started up playing blues music, right? He said he said white people like the blues,
Just
just
not the
not the
people who
people who
make
make
it.
it.
Yup.
And so like, I don't have like any prejudices. Like I think, we all are just like, that was like a great like eye-opening moment of like,
Yeah.
this is all supposed to be about appreciation and not appropriation.
Mm-mm. Yep.
Just thought I would add that in there.
One thing that Kayla and I did really talk about was Bo Chow and Grace and their significance
Right,
in
like
the
Asian
movie.
immigrants in the
And
US.
I actually learned today that during the Mississippi Delta, there was a very small Chinese American community during that time, which
Hmm.
I didn't know. Which I mean, I'm not Chinese, I'm Mongolian, but like it was really cool learning about the history of like the Mississippi
Right, like when
Delta.
I think of like the mass like um Chinese and also Philip, like like there was a large Filipino immigration. This was all mainly to the West
Yeah.
Coast, like California,
Mm-hmm.
especially because they were looking for like
Cheap labor.
yeah, cheap labor, like to work on the railroads and like
Uh-huh.
be shopkeepers and stuff. And then when the Philippines, like immigrants from the Philippines came over, it was like to be nurses
And like nurse
specifically.
aides and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we had talked really heavily on like Grace and Bo's like role in the movie.
Which it was kind of hard at first to actually see, but like the second or third time watching, we were like, oh yeah, like
And also
yeah,
like it's really hard to like kind of like sit with this idea,
yeah,
because this is us kind of like criticizing, like parts of our own heritage as Asian Americans,
yeah.
like, with Asian immigrant parents. Um, but yeah, Asian American representation in like the businesses, because they were allowed to own businesses,
And
like,
sell to white and black people during the time.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Another thing that we talk really heavily to, and Bella and I talk about this all the time, is how we see, older generations of Asian immigrants
Mm-hmm.
who want to assimilate so badly
And to
Culture,
American culture specifically,
to American culture
with the
specifically.
like model minority, like white picket fence specifically.
Right. Like they really adopt this idea of model minority, and they don't
Yeah.
see it as like not degrading, like they honestly see it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Older generations of Asian immigrants see model minority as a compliment, and they use it to compare themselves to other minorities, which we have always been heavily against.
Yes.
Like I see it in my own parents, um, and just like other older generations who have assimilated so much to think that they stand. I mean,
Above
everyone is
which
equal.
yeah,
Like,
everyone
let
is
me just
equal.
preface,
Yeah.
everyone is equal, but like to think that they are on like the same standing ground, same starting ground as the white man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like that has just never been true historically.
No, but it's been like a rhetoric that's been pushed from white communities to Asians
So long as
for
they
them,
stay the model
yeah,
minority.
for them to come over here too.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah, and so seeing like Bo Chow and Grace was actually really kind of like, oh wow, like, because they had
Like
two
you,
shops. They had two shops. They had one shop. I did notice this. They had one shop for African American people, and then they had one shop for white people,
yep.
which I didn't realize at
And
first.
Grace was the one like tending to the white people shop, and
Bo Chow, yeah.
and when they what's it called when they pack up to go because they help out with the juke joint, right? When
Mm-hmm.
they pack up to go, you see Grace literally dressed up as Rosie the Riveter,
Yep.
red bandana, blue
Red band and
overall suit,
everything.
like
Yep.
literally like
It
if you
was
guys
just
don't
so.
remember if you guys don't remember Rosie the Riveter, you
Yes.
know, um she campaigned for women's rights, which is really interesting because like we don't really talk they don't really
Talk about
talk
it.
about women's rights so much in the movie is what I thought, but yeah, like she was just like so American, like it was
It was just
crazy.
blatant in your face, which I didn't get at first. I was like, huh?
Even down to their names, Bo, Grace, and then their daughter Lisa.
Yeah.
You know, like no hints of Asian descent other than their name
Yeah.
or other like yeah, than their last name, Chow.
Basically, Chow. Yeah.
But yeah, Grace was dressed up as Rosie the Riveter, which was crazy to me. I mean, she looked cute.
And she looked really, really
Um,
cute. This is like not talking about like that topic, like about Asian Americans, but I did learn off topic that the color red, right, can mean a lot in different cultures and countries. And a lot red means death.
right, like
And red
to
can
have
mean
like to write in
a sign.
red letters.
And in like certain countries, in certain countries it can mean deaths. In certain countries it can mean luck. And in
Like
certain countries,
welcoming death,
yeah,
honestly.
basically. So I just thought that was a really cool tidbit, which I didn't even
Right,
realize.
little cool tidbit, like how they're like, we only have one color, and it's
It
like,
was
what color
red.
is it? Red.
And red is a big color in China too, which,
It's supposed to be a lucky color.
very I mean, like I said, in different countries and different cultures, it means completely different things.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think the last point I wanted to make that kind of like really hits home, like, you know, like with kind of just like this perpetual like pitting against like
Yeah.
minorities being pitted against minorities, like when all like hell breaks loose, literally, in the movie, Grace and Bo are trying to contain the chaos, and
Mm-hmm.
Grace immediately
It's like
is
we have to
like,
go.
she's like, pack up, like we have to get
Go
out
get
of
the
here.
car.
And then
What about
he's like,
Lisa?
yeah, no, literally, but Bo is like, no, like we have to stay, like
Mm-hmm.
something's happening, like, you know, we have to like stay and figure out what's going on, like we don't know the situation yet. And she's like, Grace goes, we did not sign up for this. She said, we agreed to help them with the party, but we did not sign up for this, as
Yeah.
in like whatever's about to go down, like it's not our responsibility to help,
Mm-mm.
right? You know, shots were fired, people, you know, someone had died, like it's chaos. And she's like, we didn't sign up for this, they can deal with it on their own. And unfortunately, like I feel like I do see that, we both see that in like Asian immigrants specifically. In, you know, I can't speak for everyone, but people that like we know in our own lives, like they tend to really only you know, stick up for themselves, like to really only have their own backs.
Basically, just want to benefit from both sides, but when you have
Things
like
get
when things get difficult,
difficult,
you just want to leave because it doesn't. You're not part of them, and it doesn't pertain to you. But
right?
then it's also really kind of alienating because you think about like it is alien. You're alienating yourself from
Hmm.
different groups, and it's like, but at the end of the day, like we're all in this together. We really are. Like
Right.
we really
Like
are all in this together.
minority groups as a whole like should all collectively like have each other's backs, and that kind of just like left a sour taste in my mouth because like,
Same.
you know, maybe I'm like drawing on like something like really little, but like I feel like I could have related to it. Like I like really see it in daily life, you know, like Asian immigrants or like Asian American households that live in predominantly white areas or are right leaning and all of that, like
Yeah,
they tend to not care about
they do
other
not
minorities and issues pertaining to other
because it
minorities.
feels like they don't have to care.
Absolutely.
because they feel like
And
they fully assimilated,
especially because they feel like they've fully assimilated to the white man.
which is not true at all.
Just
Not
leaves
at
a
all.
sour taste
It
in my
does.
mouth.
Very much so.
Um, but yeah, so that I think is kind of the last that I really wanted to talk about. Um, Kind of like the Asian immigrant and Asian American representation in the movie, and then like shit hits the fan, and Grace has to be the one to let the vampires in. Like, girl, come on. Like, you said that you wanted no part of this, and girl, you're literally the one that got everyone killed.
But in a sense, I feel a lot of sympathy for her just due to the fact that, like, the Remick, or who she calls, like the White Devil, basically, right? She, he basically tells her, like, I know where you like to be licked and I won't bite hard. He basically talks to her in
He,
Mandarin to
yeah,
get in her head. And I just feel I have so much sympathy to her because it's like, not only did Bo get bitten, he's speaking to her in Mandarin, and most likely he knows everything. He knows everything about Grace. He knows everything about Lisa. He knows everything about Bo Chow. So, like, as you know,
I
and
understand
it's very
why
human.
she.
Like,
Yeah,
it was a very
100%.
human
It's a
decision.
human response. Like, like I'm not trying to shame her for like losing her cool, but
I'm pretty sure she knows a lot of people don't like her, and I'm pretty sure, like, her, like, everyone felt that way to her character. You know what I mean? Grace's character. Being
yeah,
like, oh my God, why would you let them in? But, like, if you were in that situation, in that dire situation, and your husband or your boyfriend gets bit and speaks to you in
absolutely.
your native language,
Absolutely. I would be freaked out and I would be angry and like have all of these emotions. Like
she saved the
she
town, basically.
she
She
died
really saved the
she
town.
died
She's,
fighting, like 100%. I'm going to give her that. But at the same time, like the point that I'm trying to make is that like she is the one that wanted to leave and not stay and help, and she's also the same person that let everyone in to be slaughtered.
yeah.
That's the only point that I was making. Unfortunately, like Grace just wasn't my favorite character, but
I liked her.
I understand where she's coming from. Like, it's not that I dislike her or anything. She just wasn't my favorite because everyone had someone to lose. Everyone
Yeah.
had someone to lose. Everyone had families to go back to. Like what exactly makes her the only person that's special, and like her justification like for Lisa, or like her saying the town, like I don't know. Like it just felt kind of like entitled, like, oh, now we all have to like step up and do something right now just because like poor little Lisa's at home. But everyone had a family to go home to. And she didn't really think rationally. She only thought about her family and Lisa when she let everyone in.
Bo Chow's fine ass died, though.
Poor Bo
Man.
Chow. So sorry.
Bo Chow's fine ass died.
Um I want to talk about Stack and Mary though.
Oh, okay, this is my thing. Okay, so Stack and Mary couldn't be together. They couldn't, because during that time,
Yeah.
biracial marriage was not allowed,
Yeah.
and Mary only wanted Stack, and Stack wanted Mary to be safe, and he didn't want her life he didn't want her to have a life of suffering, which he spoke to her really derogatory, but I guess it was just to keep her
Right, like
away.
to keep her away, like when they were in front of, like when they were in public.
Yeah, and like he just was like, I
It was
was
like
like,
just
what the
trying
fuck
to,
you want, bitch? Basically, like that type of like
yeah.
energy. But don't worry, guys. I'll censor this. But I thought it was really, really, really cool that they were the only vampires that survived, and I was like, I thought it was also really like sad at the same time because like their love could never be out in the open. Even years later, their love had to be hidden. They had
Right,
to hide
like
away.
you said their love was eternal, but they could never be seen in broad daylight. That's why they're the only vampires left.
Mm-hmm.
So while they were still human, their love couldn't be seen in broad daylight because of the times and how, interracial marriages were not
I
allowed.
think it was illegal at the time too, wasn't it?
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, it had been outlawed. I don't know, like, timeline wise, like, when that had become outlawed, but, like, there were no
Yeah.
biracial, or interracial couples in the movie whatsoever.
Yeah, their
Um,
love was
and
eternal.
Stack even says, like, you could be seen by the wrong person and the clan could come after Mary, like, for being associated or in a relationship with a black man.
I saw I thought this was foreshadowing. I told Kayla to write it down and I did see it was when Stack was at the train station and Mary like was like saying something to him. She was like rot in hell or like go to hell or something like that. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, he's like, I will. I was like, I'll save you a spot there
He
too.
said, "I'll save you a room in hell next to mine."
And they are technically they're going to hell if they die, you know, because they're technically the devil, but they're
Yeah,
vampires.
and
They're dead. Yeah.
they're the only two vampires that survive at the end of the movie.
I saw a cool theory too that the reason why the barn was locked at the end when the
When the clan
when the
came
clan
to,
came, right? It was because they were hiding out in there because it was dark.
mm-hmm.
That's like a cool theory I saw. And I saw another theory, which I forgot to tell you, that a few people were like, Perline, right?
Uh-huh.
Wasn't alive.
Really?
Like she was a Jezebel spirit because she had a
Oh.
husband. And like Jezebel, like in the Bible, like,
Oh
because
yeah.
like, isn't like in the Bible, like, like a Jezebel is like, someone who cheats and stuff like that. And she's not like alive or something like that. I don't know. I don't know the Bible, guys. I'm
Let
just,
me look it up.
but someone said like, yeah, like,
So, in the context of religious belief, a Jezebel spirit refers to a person perceived to be under the influence of a powerful, manipulative, and controlling spirit, similar to the biblical figure Jezebel. PBS states the let's see. Um, Biblical Jezebel, wife of King Ahab, was a Fenician princess who was portrayed as a wicked and manipulative woman who worshipped the false god, associated with deception, adultery, and inciting rebellion.
yeah, and like I like a few points were like, yeah, like one when she told Sammy that she's
Mm,
married, but then didn't
yeah.
show the ring or anything.
A
Lo-
modern Jezebel spirit, sorry, I keep interrupting you. Modern Jezebel spirit is used to describe a woman who is perceived to be sexually promiscuous, controlling, or manipulative. So, yeah, that's exactly what Perline was to.
like everyone was saying she was a Jezebel spirit, but like in the context of like whether she was lying about her husband or not, it was like it was trying to get Sammy, like she was trying to seduce Sammy and trying to like, I guess like I don't know. I have to find this theory, but
I,
um
I think.
that's why like she couldn't eat the garlic too. That's why she was like, I don't want to eat this garlic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, vampire. I don't know.
Well, the
I
lore of vampires runs really deep and why they can't have garlic or crap like that. I don't really
right or like
know.
they can't be out in the sun, but like, yeah. If Perline was a Jezebel spirit,
Which
then
she was. I think she was, in my
that
opinion.
makes a lot of sense, because it isn't until after, like Sammy sings his song and then he goes down on Perline and like, they have a great old time.
She's like, oh,
That
preacher boy.
he's like, I love being a musician. I want to do this. Like I want to pursue music. And that like form of like seduction and like
Temptation.
temptation 100% is probably why Sammy goes on to continue being a musician, because he
Well,
likes that
yeah.
lifestyle. And
Someone said that like Perline was the reason why he sold his soul to the devil because like at the end, because you know how like there's two different ending credits, right? At
mm-hmm.
the second ending, like the very end when he's singing in the church and he looks up, that's him selling his soul to the devil because he's calling, because he's in the house of God, right? But his
Yeah.
dad said when he sings, right, when he sings like the devil's music, he calls upon the devil, and that's what he did. He called upon the
Right.
devil. That's why
He's
he's
like
looking up.
he's like looking up to some higher power. And then also he does name that bar at the first ending credit scene.
Perline.
Perline's. Yeah.
Be like Perlin, get your pussy eaten once and get a bar named after you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I live
Side
life
note,
for the first
um,
time.
that bar that Sammy's supposed to be in at the first ending credit scene, we've actually walked past it.
Mm-hmm.
Your sister was the one that pointed it out to us. We
Yeah.
went to a fashion show, and
It was by Columbia College too.
yeah, Columbia University in Chicago.
Yeah,
We
Columbia
walked
University.
past, and like on the one of the corner streets, the bar that they filmed it in, or the bar that it's based off of, like we walked past
And
it.
like
It's pretty
the
cool.
the dude who like sold his soul to the devil to become like a big blues player. I guess it's like
His
pretty big.
picture was posted on
Yeah,
there.
I think that was him too. And when Sammy was dressed, he was dressed exactly the same way as that dude was dressed too. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh, it's like very interesting.
Right. Like it's like supposed to be like historically accurate in every way.
Well, yeah, this whole movie is historically accurate in every way, and it's also just so like it's just so beautiful. Like
I
I
love
just can't get over this movie. I've watched it 4 times and I can watch it a fifth time
I
perfectly
love
fine.
seeing the like intersection or like the intertwining of different people and their history.
Yeah.
Like we see obviously like Remick and his Irish descent.
We
We
see
see
Bo Chow and Grace,
right, like being Asian immigrants. We see the Choctaw, like the tribe, and then I mean, even talking about like the Klan and just like the disgusting part of history, like all of
Yeah.
it intertwines and like the intersectionality of all of it and how
And just like American US history, just
right
how
how American history like I mean just America is a melting pot
America is a
of
large
different
melting pot.
cultures.
It is a huge melting pot, and if someone says it's not, it is. Like I no, it
Yeah.
is.
I mean historically that's what the US has been called, like the
The
melting
melting
pot.
pot.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Is that your sister talking?
yeah, that's what I was supposed to say.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah. Oh, I've
That
wanted
was
these the
actually
whole time.
everything on our list.
Yeah. And if anything we say wasn't like accurate, historically accurate, feel free to
Right.
correct us, or if there's something that we
Please
missed,
correct us. If
tell
there's
us.
oh my god. It's the Filipino food. If there's something that we got wrong, please let us know. Like
Or
it's
like
not our
missed.
intention to misinform.
Yeah.
Or we don't want to offend or misinform or anything like that.
No.
If there's anything that you want us to talk about next, I mean, I don't think we'll talk and like have another full episode about Sinners, but like we'd love to have conversation with you guys in the comments, or like in our DMs and stuff.
100%.
But yeah, I think next week we'll try and get back to our
Regularly scheduled anime.
right.
Try to at least.
Absolutely. Like we'll try to get back on track with like the content that you guys probably want more. Hopefully you guys, if you haven't seen Sinners and like you watch this video anyway, maybe go and watch it. It really is a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
And it I
very
feel like
well made. The
mhm.
characters are all, so attractive, but beyond that, so well written. They have a lot of depth to them.
It actually makes you feel like they're actually human, and like they're not just like actors on a movie screen.
And especially if you're like big history nerds, like I'm
Yeah.
a huge history geek. Like I ate this up. Like
Yeah.
and even if like this movie like or listening to us talk about the movie makes you want to like learn more about history.
I think
I hope
knowing your
you guys-
history, yes.
Yeah.
I think knowing your history and just being very well versed in like whatever, like, American history or just anything, I feel like it's just good to have, just to be able
Yeah.
to like really like connect with where you're living, or like, just that like the rich culture that comes from whatever country you're from.
Yeah.
And I think any movie that makes you think or makes you search up, just like honestly anything, is just a
Any
great
movie that has you thinking and wanting to learn more about the backstory is a great movie.
Yes.
I
I hope they
I
have
said
a
it-
movie about Remick. I would love that.
I said to Bella, like, this is the only movie that I've ever gone back to a theater to see. And I've seen
Same.
it 3 times.
I've seen it 4
I've-
times.
I've never, I mean, I like movies and everything, but like to go to a movie theater 3 times and pay to see it 3 times, obviously it's worth watching.
The only movie that I've seen 4 times in a row was War Horse.
I've never seen that movie.
It's so good. I cry every single time. Oh my God, I'm gonna start crying. I love War
Oh, boy.
Horse. All right. Well,
But,
that's it for our
yeah.
episode. Thank you for tuning in.
And remember, guys, before you let someone into your home, see if they'll walk in the door anyway, or if you have to invite them in, because they might be a vampire.
If they say, "Well, go ahead, let me just in." No. No.
He said, or maybe you could let me in, and I can. Anyway, bye.